put this up. These are odds from, this is Caesars, Casino and Sportsbook, college football's playoff odds. None of these teams on this list are shocking, although look at who's 5. Alabama, Ohio State, no surprise. Georgia, this is to get to the playoff. Clemson, USC with all of the hype, with all of the changes, with Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams, all the transfers, hellacious recruiting year. Then Oklahoma, and then Michigan.
Well, USC and Oklahoma stick out to me just for the reason of they both had tremendous amounts of turnover, and while I don't think any of that wound up being a huge negative for Oklahoma, I think that Brent Venables and his staff will do just fine. We've never seen that in 23 years in Oklahoma. They haven't had to deal with any kind of tumultuous offseason like that. And look, Lincoln Riley brought in a lot of transfers, and Caleb Williams and Jordan Addison are the same team alone. Before you get to some of the other guys, that's unbelievable, and that should be lethal all year long. And their schedule, seems to lean to give them that, but give them some time to come together. Like there might be a game where, look, Caleb Williams might still look like he did a couple times last year where he looked very much like a deer in the headlights. Sometimes he looked like Superman. Sometimes, he looked like Jimmy Olsen. It's fine. It's all part of growing pains. I just think that those things might be a little bit overblown just given, what's gone on there.
Can you put that back up there, Garrett, that graphic, so I can go off of it? Yeah, the top 3, that's everybody's top 3 probably. I mean, I'd love to see some that don't have those 3 as the top 3, so that's pretty simple. And then after that, the whole guessing game begins. Clemson, I think, will be very interesting because, for most teams coming off a year that they just had, that might be like the best year they've had in a decade. For Clemson, it's the worst year they've had in a decade, and it's still better than most. But they're certainly in a place of wonder when it comes to, do they have the right quarterback in the right spot at the right time and for the right direction that they want to go, or is there going to be some changes there as the season goes along? And it does feel as though some of that bulletproof layer that they've had for the last few years went away a little bit last year, even though they were still a good team. So Clemson, I'm very curious to see how they, quote-unquote, bounce back. What was the other one? USC. Get fascinated by how Lincoln Riley does in year number 1. I understand the reason for really high expectations right out of the gates, and I also understand those that say, like, hey, let him kind of get his toes in the water a little bit first. But I do expect them to be much better, and I do expect them to be right there in the thick of things when it comes to the big storylines leading into whoever's playing in the Pac-12 championship game. If they're not playing in it, I'm sure they've had a hand in who is, somehow or another. Oklahoma, I think, is going to be really good. Are they going to be the team that's basically getting into the Big 12 championship game every single year? I don't know if I'm ready to go that far just yet, but I do feel as though there's a lot of there's quiet confidence up there, and then there's a lot of, outrage at being disrespected. It's weird, the mix that's going on. On the one hand, I feel like there's this quiet calm, like the calm before the storm in a good type of a way, like, oh, we'll show you. And yet there's an element of the fan base that just is screaming about being disrespected constantly. So I don't know what attitude the team will have. If it's more like Venables, I think it'll be that sort of quiet, that confidence, and then they'll come out swinging, and they'll be a really good team. I'm not ready to go all in on Big 12 title with them, but, yeah, they're going to be right in the thick of things. And then, Michigan, I expect them to be right in the mix as well. So, yeah, that all makes sense. A couple of them, though, I don't know about playoff. I don't know about that, but that list makes sense.
Okay, put that up again, Garrett. Chat room's going on with it as well. Who is not on the list that you think would be or should be on the list? This is to get
Utah
into the semifinals.
Yeah, Utah would be one of them. Yep.
Yeah. Where USC and Utah will be interesting to me is this is a Utah team that's all, for the most part, been together for a while. They know each other. They're familiar with one another. So because of that, that might be the X factor to me when it comes down to the nitty gritty of that. So yeah, that's why I think Utah. I mean, that's the one that really jumps out to me because, you could say Oklahoma State or Baylor in the Big 12 because they played for the championship last year, and both teams are, for more or less, the majority of people are back. But that's tough to say with the schedule that each of them have that flips. And
Utah opens up at Billy Napier's debut against Florida on the road, 6 o'clock.
And that should be a Utah win. I know it's on the road, but they're on paper the better team.
Should be. And those are the kind of games that you have to win early on. Doesn't mean you don't. But if you're Utah, you have to win that game.
I think after that, you get into the group after those schools right there of there's really interesting teams. Like I think Oregon will be really interesting with Dan Lanning in year one. Just like as far as a team I'm interested to see and what exactly they look like. Cincinnati coming off of the incredible year they had last year. Luke Fickell. I'm sure we'll have that team reloaded and not rebuilding, although they do have a lot to replace. But that's another team I'm excited to see. And then there's like just a group of teams that I don't think we really know all that much about. Obviously, that could be contenders that maybe we're just not quite sure of just yet. And yeah, I'm with you. Like I'd throw an Oklahoma State in there as just like as part of like that kind of a group. I'd throw Baylor in that kind of a group. I'd throw Oregon in that kind of a group. Whoever you want to say out of the SEC, that's not like whether that be an A&M or an Arkansas. That second tier of teams who will be good. We don't know how good. And certainly on paper, not good enough to say like they're in the Ohio State, Alabama level. But there's a big group of those teams that are, that's the remainder of the top 25 basically are all those teams. So that's going to be cool to see who emerges from that.
That's who was supposed to, at least based on the odds, get to the college football playoff. So now you take that list, and here are the odds of who wins the national championship. And again, no surprise at the top, Alabama with Ohio State and Georgia, and then there's a drop-off. Clemson, A&M, who's not a part of that college football playoff list, and probably because of who's in front of them on that list, Alabama and Georgia, and then you have USC and Oklahoma on that list as well. Those are the teams, based on right now, BetMGM, who will win the national championship. A&M's there, but they're not in the college football playoff, and again, basically blocked by whatever, if Alabama, Georgia turn out to be who they've been.
I was on Texags Radio earlier today with David Nuno, and he asked me, what I thought, about A&M and Jimbo Fisher's, potential and what they think this year. And here's what I'll say. Based on Jimbo Fisher's history, when he has his quarterback, he wins. Kellen Mond was not a guy he recruited. He coached him up really well, and I think Kellen Mond played above where he would have been had the previous coaching staff been there, and he's in the NFL now, and great for Kellen Mond. Jimbo Fisher's great at putting guys in the NFL. After that, it's not his job that they might be mediocre or not, or abjectly terrible. But if he has his quarterback, he'll win. We just don't know if he has that guy.
No, and there's no proof that he does until we see the evidence, and obviously he's trying to put that room together where he can win at that certain level. So those are a couple of different polls. Those are the couple of different odds.
A&M in the playoff thing. That's interesting. I don't know if that's. I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. I mean, it's the fact they don't have a quarterback. It's August 5th, like you're saying. That's a big question mark. And the schedule, that's surprising to me to see them up there in that top 6 playoff mix.
No, that was to win the national championship.
Oh, well, then even more so.
Yeah.
That's pretty shocking to me.
All right. So that's